All right, let's dive right into Chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, this chapter tackles a huge question, one we all struggle with. How do we act in the world? How do we get things done without getting all tangled up in the drama and the consequences? The Gita's answer is this incredible path called Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. So let's get into it. The whole thing kicks off right here, with our hero Arjuna in a state of total confusion. Imagine this. He's on a battlefield, and his guide, Krishna, has just told him that knowledge is way better than action. But then, in the very next breath, Krishna says, "Okay, now go fight this brutal, horrific war." I mean, you can see why Arjuna's head is spinning. It sounds like a complete contradiction. So this is the central question, right? This is what drives the whole chapter. And it's not just Arjuna's question, is it? We all face versions of this. Do we step back from the world to find peace, or do we dive in and get our hands dirty? Is it better to just know things, or is it better to do things? Krishna's answer is about to turn everything on its head.
To solve this puzzle for Arjuna, Krishna lays out two very different ways of living, two totally different answers to this problem. One path says you should escape the world. The other, more radical path, says you should transform your relationship to the world.
So, on one side, you've got the traditional Sankhya philosophy. The logic here is pretty straightforward. Every action creates karma, and karma ties you down. So the solution seems obvious. Just stop acting. Become a hermit, go live in a cave, and you'll be free. But then the Gita comes along and says something totally revolutionary. It says, no, don't stop acting. Transform your action. You can stay right here in the middle of everything, but you have to fundamentally change your inner game.
And this inner shift has a name, Tyaga. This isn't about physically walking away from your job or your family. It's about mentally and emotionally letting go of your attachment to the results of what you do. It's about mastering this beautiful idea of being in the world but not of it. Kind of like a lotus flower that can grow in the muddiest water, but its petals stay perfectly clean.
Okay, so this whole acting without attachment thing sounds great in theory, but how in the world do you actually do it? Krishna's solution is to reframe everything you do, all your work, as a kind of conscious sacrifice. But, and this is key, it's not a sacrifice to get something. It's a sacrifice of something inside yourself. When most of us hear the word yagna or sacrifice, this is probably the picture that pops into our heads, right? A fire pit, some offerings, some chanting, all done with the goal of getting something back from the gods. Maybe some rain, or wealth, or a victory in battle. It's basically a transaction. But here's the twist. The Gita takes this physical, external ritual and turns it completely inward. It transforms sacrifice from something you do into a profound psychological act. And this changes everything. So what is true sacrifice, according to the Gita? It's the conscious offering of our inner powers, our inner faculties, in every single thing we do. Think about it. When you think, you're using the power of your mind. When you see, you're using the power of sight. The Gita looks at these abilities as divine forces, almost like little gods living inside us. True yajna, then, is when we consciously dedicate these inner gods to a higher purpose, instead of just using them to get what our ego wants. And what's so cool is that this creates this amazing cycle of mutual growth. When you use your intelligence for something truly creative and good, you're fostering that divine spark within you. And in return, that faculty, now stronger, fosters you back. It makes you wiser, more insightful. It's this beautiful upward spiral where we and the divine forces inside us are constantly lifting each other up.
Okay, but this leads to another kind of mind-bending question. If you're not acting to get a result, and you're just offering up your abilities, then who or what is actually doing the work? This question really forces us to go deeper, to look at the very nature of who we are. And the Gita's answer requires a massive shift in how we see ourselves and the world around us.
So the Gita explains that each of us is made of two realities. First, there's Prakriti, which is just nature. It's the engine of the universe, the executive force. It's always moving, always changing, always doing. And then there's Purusha, the silent, eternal self. It's pure consciousness, and its only job is to witness what Prakriti does. The huge mistake we all make, the thing that gets us stuck, is that we think we are the engine, Prakriti, instead of realizing we're the silent witness, the Purusha. So the solution, the real game changer, is this huge identity shift. We have to stop thinking of ourselves as the doer.
Instead, we learn to act from the perspective of the silent witness, the Purusha. We start to see nature, Prakriti, as the instrument that's working through us. We become the calm observer of the action, not its anxious, stressed-out owner.
You know, we can actually boil this whole profound philosophy down into a really practical, three-step path to achieving this inner freedom.
The whole journey unfolds in 3 stages of letting go. First, you practice phala tyaga. You do your work, you do it well, but you let go of your desperate attachment to the outcome, the fruit. Then, once you're not being yanked around by the results anymore, you can go deeper to kartritva tyaga. Here, you let go of the feeling of being the doer at all. You recognize it's just nature's energy flowing through you. And the final step, the deepest one, is karta tyaga. This is where you let go of the ego itself. The whole idea that there's a separate little me who could ever claim the action is mine. It's a complete release of the ego's grip.
So, we've gone through some pretty deep ideas here, but what does this all mean for us, for you and me, right here, right now in our everyday lives? How do we take this off the page and actually use it?
I want to leave you with this question to just kind of mull over. Think about a time you were in that state of flow. You were so absorbed in what you were doing that time just vanished. You weren't thinking about the reward or what would happen at the end. You were just completely lost in the process itself. Now contrast that with a time you were desperately chasing a specific outcome, just full of anxiety and attachment. What was the difference in how you felt inside? The freedom, the joy, the peace? That difference right there, that's the entire secret of karma yoga.